Hello guys, I wanted to show you this instructions how to remove the transmission. The standard procedure: aluminum thread repair. Let's see, this removal right here. um, Number one, disconnect the negative ground battery cable. Then you have all these instructions. I'm not going to be reading over them. I don't want to be annoying. But in case you haven't seen some of my other videos, I do want to kind of explain how to remove this. Let's see how this thing is called here. Well, I'm just gonna zoom in over here. I'm just gonna call it my own name, even though we have this book for the reference. I'm pretty sure you already know what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about this portion here. This is a little lever on the driver's side of the transmission. It connects this like long, I'm gonna call it a rod. It's like it shifts basically, like for the shifter and stuff. So when you're shifting the transmission, it goes from left to right and kind of like in the center and stuff. You have your 6 positions there, which is park, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. When you actually put a neutral, kind of sort of like sits a little bit closer to the middle. So anyways, to remove this little piece, of course in the picture it kind of does not look the same, but anyways, you first, let's see, I'm gonna see if I could draw to it. I should be able to draw with the screen recorder, but it's not really letting me for some reason, so it's not important. Anyways, this little center portion is kind of like a plastic piece that goes around. You first need to kind of like unlatch it, and the way the drawing is, it sort of looks like it's already unlatched, but you just basically pull it out really simply. You know, pull this portion up, which is going to go in that area, so that's going to be fine, and then you'll be able to actually pull this this little thing out here. Okay, so the next step would be is to remove this little rounded piece with that the whole like wire and stuff, to actually remove it from the actual transmission. To remove it, you'll need to actually, these little tabs, there's like these little tabs in this little, you know, place over here, somewhere over here, there's a little plastic tabs. They don't really have a good picture of it, so you know, hold those little tabs together and then use a screwdriver to prop this little piece off. Like I would use a flathead screwdriver, because it's going to be on there kind of stuck, most likely, especially if you haven't removed it in a while. It's going to be stuck. It really sits nice and solid in it, and that's good. You don't want it, you know, to be like popping out of place, because then you got a problem. But push those little tabs in somehow. I guess it locks in place. I wasn't really trying to figure out exactly how it does that, but you have to press the tabs. And then once you're little, you know, like remove it and stuff, this little cable is going to be completely free, and you could just set it to a side somewhere. So that was like the most important thing. And then if you don't want to unlatch, for instance, you don't want to unlatch this little piece, well, you could actually undo this little rounded portion here that's in the center. You could actually take a screwdriver, put it underneath there, and pop it off. And you could actually pop it off with fingers if you really want to try, but I would use a screwdriver to kind of put it in there and pop it off. It's sort of like a little rounded elbow thing, you know. It's like a round, like a little metal ball, and it's just sort of like snaps in place. It's really easy to install it back, but that will keep you from breaking a little plastic piece, because it's pretty brittle, especially if somebody before you damaged it, because you want that wire to stay in place nice and tight over there. Because in case you end up damaging the plastic pieces, not all hope is lost. You could actually put it back in that place, and you could fix it together with like a zip tie. That would be good, but maybe something like a little bit more solid, like a piece of wire that you could twist around there, you know, to keep that latch from going up, because it's keeping things together. So what else do we want to cover here? So of course you're gonna need to put your transmission in neutral, disconnect your negative battery cable. Also you're gonna need to drain your fluid from that little portion right there, and you'll need to actually drain your torque converter fluid before you get to removing all that other good stuff. Drain the torque converter fluid. In this picture, it's showing you how to remove the actual lines and stuff from the transmission. This is the passenger side of the transmission. This is the fill tube right here. Not actual transmission line, that's a fill tube. So you'll need to remove the fill tube, disconnect all the bolts. This one right here most likely is going to be really stuck on there, and the one above that usually is stuck really good, and also this one here that's hiding right behind the line. You'll first need to remove the line in order to get to that one. This is the only ones I usually have problems with when I'm removing transmissions. To remove it properly, first of all, use the proper tool. Over here it's showing you kind of like a little bolt, but it's not really a bolt like this. It's a E tool. It's an E14. That's what you're gonna need to use. It's made exactly for this type of bolt. You know, to give you least likely chance of actually stripping the threads. You don't want to really strip those things, but in case you strip them, not all hope is lost. One of the videos I actually show you how I removed it by actually using a special tool. It kind of bites into the actual like strip bolt, and it really worked well for this system, and it really grabs it, and you can actually twist it out. But anyways, in case this bolt is really stuck and you haven't stripped it yet, okay, yeah, I would advise, you know, use some kind of like maybe like PB Blaster, WD-40, whatever you like to use for removing bolts. And if you use that and it's still like really tough and you think you might strip it, I would go ahead and get a torch. You don't have to get a really hot one. A propane one will work just fine. Heat around the body of the transmission. I mean, like where the bolt is, on the actual body. Do not heat the actual bolt. By heating the bolt, you could end up breaking the bolt. But you could heat it for about a minute. You don't really need to do any more than that. But if it's really stuck on there, probably give it 2 minutes. What will happen is kind of like a little science. I'm pretty sure you guys already know that. You know, and I don't want to, you know, I know I don't need to explain, but I will explain just in case. The metal actually expands due to heat, so it's actually going to cause your bolt to be loose. You know, ultimately, you could actually remove it without actually using any kind of like bolt, like removing type of, you know, like fluids, like PB Blaster, WD-40, because it's already going to like separate things. But then as soon as you stop heating it, okay, immediately get on that bolt and go ahead and, you know, get it loose, because you don't want that metal to cool down on you, and then you'll have the problem. Now, this very top one, okay, I've been actually having luck with this one. Maybe it's just because it's on top and nobody's really tightening them really good. This actually come out pretty easy. It's this one that's got the problem right here, that bolt and that bolt. Usually those two. Sometimes this one is kind of stuck, you know, and also they're kind of like difficult to get to. So let's move on here. I'm just gonna keep this on hold for a couple seconds. That way you guys could hit pause in case you're trying to actually read this here. So let's see here. I'm gonna slowly go down. You could pause it at any moment to try to actually read the instructions. And this is the whole idea why I actually am recording the screen like this, in case you want to know exactly how it's done at the shop. So this right here is telling you how to remove the oil lines, and it's actually telling you like basically to remove the oil lines right in the oil pan. I usually don't do that, but this time I went ahead and actually removed that. And the thing that I noticed, even though my engine only has 200,000 miles, the actual engine, not the body, some of those bolts were missing on the oil pan. It's kind of strange. So I actually have some extras. I'm gonna install them. So here we have one of the oil lines being removed. This is on the driver's side of the transmission. It's pretty easy to remove it. It's got 2 washers. Do not lose the washers. So it's got one like next to the bolt, and another one on the opposite end. They're very easy to lose, like once you pull that bolt out. So let's see what else. Yeah, this is some of the cables that's going sort of like electrical. It's going to the alternator over here, and it's going to your starter. You know, they're really not that in the way. Like I thought at first they'll be in the way, but I came up with a system where it's really not all the way, but you will kind of need to loosen it around the torque converter area, because you'll want to be able to move it around a little bit. And these bolts are 8 millimeters. You could just use the regular 8 millimeter socket. They're not really that stuck on there. So I'm getting back to this. Alright, the 13-pin connector and another oil fill tube, well, not an oil fill tube, this is actually oil cooler lines, and the 13-pin connector, which is attaches right here, and that's actually the 13-pin connector that you have to replace. You don't have to, but do it, because if they leak, you're gonna have a lot of problems. I explained that in some of my other videos. Once again, do not lose the washers on this bolt if it comes out, you know, and move them out of the way. Yeah, do not forget to remove the 13-pin connector. You know, I know it's obvious, but it's really easy to forget with all the stuff that you gotta remove. So here's what is showing you, like, several things, but I'm not going to really cover that. Like, I'm gonna like let you guys see what this is about, and then I'm gonna go back to it and cover some of this stuff. Okay, so that other picture, we're not gonna really focus on it. It's not that important right now unless you read in the material. Okay, this little portion, this is where your torque converter is, and this picture here, in case you're wondering where it's actually showing from, this is actually if you remove the transmission and you're sitting in the transmission bay or looking from that side, to the left would be your starter, this little rounded portion there. All this round stuff is where the torque converter is, and what is showing you here is there's a plastic cover that sits right in the oil pan, engine oil pan, that you'll need to pop off. And the easiest way to pop it off is when you remove the transmission, just go underneath and stick a screwdriver in here, right in between the torque converter, and just pop it out of place. Okay, one of my videos I already cover exactly like the easiest way to remove the torque converter, and it's not the way they tell you in this book. So you could watch one of those videos, but I will briefly try to cover that. Okay, so over here they're trying to tell you like this, I called it a steering column. Let's see what it's actually called here. It's a steering gear. So I was close. I make names up along the way. You guys probably already noticed this, but I try to make sense of what I'm looking at by having common sense. I mean, you could have all kinds of names to them. You know, I call it a steering column. This is a steering gear. It looks like a column because it's rounded. Of course, it's got gears inside that you cannot see. But anyways, you don't have to remove that little thing. It's kind of like dirty, and you know, how's all these bolts and stuff? There's only 4 bolts. Very easy to remove. Well, it's actually the top ones are kind of hard because you don't have much room in there to remove them. But it's really not important. If you guys want to remove it, go ahead. That's what the book says here to do. And then of course you'll have you'll need like some kind of like tool like this with some extensions to remove the torque converter bolts, which I did not find one that really works that well. I have some, but it's kind of showing you here like how it would go inside. In number 6 would be sort of like the steering column, number 5 sort of like a cross member, number 3 sort of like a cross member. In case I'm wrong, let me know, but basically that tool is going through the center right to the torque converter. And possibly there is a tool like that. I don't have that in my toolbox because that one, it seems like it just really goes at an incline there, and you could get in between and loosen it. But the only thing I found is I'm using something like this, okay, and all it does is just falls off right off the bolt. That's if I have a short one like this. You put it on, it falls off. It's just really super annoying. So I do not remove it. They're telling you to remove it. I actually remove it from sitting inside of the transmission bay and removing it from there. It's the most easiest way to do it. Like, it's a piece of cake to remove it. Okay. So this one kind of shows you how to put the torque converter on, and what I wanted to sort of get to is some of these other ways. It's teaching you like how to measure the distances for the torque converter, but I'm looking at the section here, and they're showing you like how to like, there's a BB and there's a AA, you know, like those bolts and stuff. What they're trying to tell you here is kind of like leave those bolts in place, you know, like remove them last. I did not do that because it was pointless the way actually showing on here. I only left them kind of like in the center of the transmission on both left and the right side. I loosened them, but I left them in place to keep the transmission in place with a transmission jack underneath, so I could remove the rear cross member of the transmission that the transmission mount attaches to. You know, I just sort of did it like that. And of course, when removing that transmission, it does not really tell you this here, but when you disconnect your drive shaft from the transmission, from the actual propeller, transmission propeller, you need to push your disconnect it completely, disconnect it all the way from the differential in the back, and move your slide your transmission, let's see. why did I just glitch here? Drive shaft, you have to move it all the way kind of like as far back as you could move it. I would actually leave one of the U type of attachments underneath. It's the very first one that catches your drive shaft in case it like breaks apart, to keep it from shooting right through your floor. But those other two bearings and round bearings in the transmission, you would need to, on the drive shaft, you would need to actually remove those. So I'm kind of thinking about a lot of different things here, and sometimes I'm kind of like forgetting what I'm trying to tell you guys. So over here we have gone too far. It's already starting to get into where you remove. So I'm just going to slowly scroll up so you guys could see kind of like parts of it. You really don't need that stuff unless you're doing clutches. And I will make a video later on exactly how to do clutches. So it's just not going to be today. I'm trying to be as insightful as possible, and due to that fact my videos are kind of long, but that's just me. That's how I do it. I kind of like to talk you guys right through it instead of just being like straight to the point. I think if you guys needed information straight to the point, you could just read it in a book, and that's straight to the point. But when you start removing stuff, reality sets in. It's not exactly that easy. You'll hit like different roadblocks along the way, and it's going to be hard. So what I was looking for here, I was looking for some picture here that you could see where the torque converter is, and I do not see one. So the best picture I found would be sort of like almost like the worst picture. But anyways, you guys understand me anyways. This is the picture I'm going to be using. This is if you're trying to remove the torque converter. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys in this video just briefly. I have a video that covers it, like in one of my recent videos where I removed the transmission. It says it's an easy way to remove it and stuff in that video. I might link the video to this video so you guys could see exactly what I did. And you could see in the beginning of the video, I'll actually tell you that it's the easiest way to remove the torque converter. So I will cover it here. For those of you that understand, you understand. If you want to see exactly how I did it, you could just watch my video. So this is the way I removed the torque converter, okay? And I'm gonna have to scroll to several different things. I did remove the plastic piece, and since the transmission's already out, of course you would need to support like with a piece of wooden block, like put it somewhere over here, like in this corner of the transmission. Put it against the cross members, where the motor mounts sitting. All you need is a 2x4. 2x4 could be laying flat there. It's enough to keep the engine from actually falling down. Make sure you do have that there before you remove the transmission, because if you don't, you'll end up damaging everything. Your engine's just gonna go down. It just might rip something or break something. It's not that heavy, but still, Plus, it'd be annoying. You'll have to still lift it up because it's gonna be completely out of place. So anyways, you'll see the torque converter here, okay, and the bolt will be directly behind. What I found the most easiest way, just use a middle type of a tool, like a piece of wrench that would be kind of like in the middle. There's a small one, there's a middle one, there's a large one. Use the one that's in the middle. All you need is a long number 13 socket, the very long one. That it's really sturdy, so you just stick it right behind, but you're using your left hand. Access it from this left side, is plenty of room there, and work your hand your right underneath there. Be in a sitting position when you're doing this, facing like your face actually is going to be looking at a torque converter, and you're going to be pretty comfortable underneath the Sprinter. They have a lot of room inside, especially if you prop your vehicle up a little bit. You could be sitting like this, have your hand on those bolts, you could feel them and put your tool on there. So now you're gonna wonder, you're gonna say, okay, I'm trying to like remove the bolts, but the torque converter is spinning. Well, I got an answer for you. A torque converter here right in front. It's too bad I could not find the picture right here, but you guys know what a torque converter looks like. On the end piece, it's sort of got like a little, like inside of that little pipe in the middle, it's got like a little cut there. It's perfect for a screwdriver with the hand, like screwdriver, with the handle. So as you insert it inside, well, now you just created yourself a handle. And you could basically lock your torque converter in place by holding it with your right hand, and with the left hand loosen those bolts. And I'm gonna tell you guys, this is piece of cake. It's the easiest way. It'll take you like 5 minutes to remove all these bolts, maybe 6, 1 minute give or take on each bolt. Plus, you do not need to rotate the harmonic balancer with a 27mm key. You could just rotate the torque converter by hand, use both hands on it for the next bolt. And of course, each time, like in the center, these two bolts are not going to exactly align. You'll need to align one of them, then the other bolt is going to be kind of hard to reach, like align it just a little bit more, so it's going to be comfortable for you to grab it. And just remove it like that, removing it through the center of the engine, like underneath your oil pan, and getting that steering wheel, steering, I want to say column, but steering gear down. That's a hard way, believe me when I tell you this, because you'll still need to actually lock your torque converter in place. Yes, you're going to be right next to it, and you could have a hand on it, but I don't know. It's your choice. There's 2 ways of removing it. I think mine's the easiest. So this concludes the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for my other videos. What I'm going to be sort of creating is like some automotive videos on some days and some family videos on the other days, because me and my wife, we both run this channel together, and we want to just have a sort of like our reality show basically for YouTube. And the whole idea is so that our friends and family that live far away, they could see exactly what we're doing. And for this to be an education channel, for adults. If the kids could watch the kids stuff, and adults could be watching the adult stuff, like fixing your car or doing something else that is really helpful. So thank you guys so much. Please subscribe to my channel, like my video if you liked what I was talking about. If you guys have any comments, leave them right below, and make sure you write in the comment, like if you have a question, put that in the comment. I'm going to try to answer as best as possible. I've tried to help with my other videos, to other people, by answering the questions, and they're satisfied. At least they tell me they're satisfied. So I'm pretty happy about that. If I could help you, then that makes me happy. Engines is not the only topic I'll be covering. I like electronics, technology. I'm really, like into technology and that kind of stuff, and into building, and into remodeling, and to real estate investing, and doing my own taxes. Basically, I do the whole 9 yards. I'm just a go-to guy for like everything, except nobody could really go to me because I do everything for myself only. I don't have any customers or clients. I'm not looking for any work or servicing anybody's vehicles, but I do want to show you how you could do it yourself. I just really don't have time for actually like running some kind of like a mechanic business, and I really don't want to. I only like doing stuff myself and have the time to do like other stuff. You know, but I have a brother that he's a really good mechanic. If somebody needs a mechanic, and you have to have a German car, he only works on German cars, Italian cars, you know, anything from Bentleys to Maseratis. He had a Ferrari in there. Dodge Viper too. That was a like exclusion, you know. But basically, he's really good. He knows his stuff, especially if you got a Porsche, BMW, Mercedes, all that stuff. He's got all the right tools, and he's got tools that other shops don't even have. But my brother is really into this kind of stuff, and he's a pro, you know. I would give him that. He loves it, so that's what he does for a living. I actually focus more on variety of different subjects. I have many interests, so I try to actually do exactly what I want to do. But anyways, this video already ended, and if you're still hearing me, thank you. And if you guys want to hear more kind of topics that I just covered, you know, leave that in the, you know, questions below, or, you know, somewhere. I monitor my YouTube very closely, so if I see something, I will make sure that I will answer it. Okay, so if I don't answer it right away, be sure that I will. And if you subscribe, I always subscribe back. Please let me know you subscribed. Due to a lot of subscribers, including myself, we're basically hiding our, you know, subscriptions from people. I know it doesn't make sense, but I've seen everybody else do it, and why not? I sort of follow the crowd in that direction, because I cannot see none of my subscribers that subscribes to me. So I guess it's a good idea to just not even be there. So if you want to subscribe to my channel, and if you have subscribed, please let me know you subscribed. Then I'll subscribe right back to you. Okay? Thank you guys so much. Take care, and God bless you.